Back on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta, asking you to head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser, find our page, subscribe to our channel, free and available also on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review there, and of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. So we were talking about here in the last segment the offensive line rankings for the Atlanta Falcons and how much that it's going to dictate what the Falcons' offensive success will be. I will give the Falcoholic credit on this. They put this article out breaking down the Falcons' run-pass splits over the last several years, 7 years actually, worth and where they may be this year. So it was interesting to see. The Falcons starting in 2015 is where this starts. 59.7% passing to 40.3 rush. 16, 56% passing, 44% rush. 17, 55.2% passing, 44.8% rushing. Starting in 2018, this is where it gets pretty big. Starting in 2018, 63.7 pass, 36.3 rush. 19 was 65.4 pass, 34.6 rush. 2020, 60.6% pass, 39.4% rush. And then last year, 59.3% still pass, 40% rush. So basically what we're talking about is the Falcons are a 60-40 pass to run team. Now, again, I've explained this forever and a day, and now the numbers back it up, that as long as they had Matt Ryan here, they were by and large going to be a pass-heavy offense first. It is interesting to look at their couple of playoff years because they did run the football more effectively in 16 and 17, which also coincides with, that's when they made the Super Bowl and the divisional round of the playoffs. And that was one of their only 2,000-yard seasons that they had from a running back in the last decade, where Freeman had 1,000 yards in 2016. So what are the Falcons going to be this year offensively? They've already discussed the idea that, look, they obviously want to be more of a power run team. Now, obviously that makes sense in what Arthur Smith's background and his DNA is and this and that and the other. But let me tell you what we also don't have to make that happen. Let's see. We don't have Derrick Henry. Oh, so that's one big piece. What else do we not have? Oh, yeah. Taylor Lewan, Jack Conklin, and a team full of great offensive linemen that the Titans had when they were at their peak as far as running it goes. And imagine, look, with all due respect to Marcus Mariota, he ain't had to run for his life behind an offensive line the way that he's got with this squad. He's going to find it's a whole new world. Desmond Ridder the same way. So how much can that change in 1 year? 60-40 pass, because it's not going to be 60-40 pass. They're not going to be a 60-40 pass to run offense. We broke down where the average team is in the league, both in the run and in the pass. That number probably will come a little bit closer to even, but obviously, if you're down in games and you're behind and you're playing catch up, you're going to have to start to throw the football more, which is not going to play in the Falcons' probably strength as far as what their offensive style should be. I think you'll see a lot of run early in their offense, a lot of trying to establish the run early. And look, let's be honest. If Mayfield, Hennessy, and McGarry are not, if they're very low tier pass blocking offensive linemen, run the football. Let them go north and south. Let them lock their hands up on guys, because that's what McGarry's strength is, right? I mean, McGarry's number one strength is the fact that if he gets you locked up, he can move you where he wants to. He's big enough, strong enough. Again, saw the pictures at OTAs or whatever that, he's looking like Thor out there, right? I mean, I guess he's the stunt double for Chris Helmsworth or whatever. But this offense is not ready to be a completely balanced attack yet. And score and situation and things like that will dictate it. But what I'd love to be able to tell you, yes, it would be kind of fun to see them be 60-40. That's not going to be a good thing. Asking Marcus Mariota to do something, or Desmond Ridder to do something that they've not done historically, Ridder is still a guy who's going to have to learn on the job. You really want to be a 60-40 offense where he's got to sling it all around. And that's if he plays. I mean, I think he'll play at some point. But let's just go off the assumption that Marcus Mariota is your starting quarterback. You want to be a 60-40 offense, him passing the football. And this is where the frustration gets in. And this is where I continue to ask, how are we going to be what we want to be? Wouldn't you think that if you wanted to be a run first type of offense or a more evenly balanced offense, that you would have invested in running back or offensive line, especially, and build those units up. This is where, look, while I love Kyle Pitts, if you'd have drafted Penei Sewell 2 years ago, you'd have had your offensive line figured out. At least you'd have had a blueprint. You know, I'll start Jake at left tackle. I'll start Penei Sewell at right tackle. I'll have McGarry move into left guard. Well, I'll have 2 years to evaluate him. I have 2 years at low cost to evaluate, can I make him an interior offensive lineman like, I don't know, Tony Mandarich, Robert Gallery, among others, guys who were dominant left tackles in college. They tried that in the NFL. It didn't work. Oh, yeah, kick him inside and became really good interior offensive linemen. So there is a blueprint for that. So I could have lived with Hennessy if I'd have had at least a veteran on the inside. Penei Sewell on the right tackle spot in 2 years. Whoop, we flipped those two guys with him and Matthews. Now Sewell's going to go out to left tackles. Matthews will go over to be right tackle. And I still feel good about my offensive line. And presto, I've got a plan how to get this thing where I need it to be and on track. And now I feel like I can have a running game. What did we just say about McGarry? His best attribute, his physical size and strength, pushing and moving guys around. Why not use that on the inside? So because of not fixing some of these things, it makes it harder for this team to probably play in the type of style that they want to be. So if you told me that they would be 55-45, that's probably about what I would believe, which, again, they haven't been 55-45 since probably the early days of Matt Ryan. I mean, we just gave you the numbers from 2015 and on. They've been 60-40 during this last 7-year stretch. Now you can say, well, what's that won them? Well, it got them to a Super Bowl in the divisional round of the playoff, and you have a Hall of Fame level quarterback that you still didn't address your defensive line or offensive line, but whatever. At this point, we got to work with the tools and the pieces that we have out there. But I don't think success for the Atlanta Falcons is going to come from being a 60-40 type of offense. And I don't think that they have the pieces and the parts and the personnel, even with 2 top 10 draft picks, even with signing 94,000 wide receivers, even with having all these tight ends and all this kind of stuff that they have, right? I mean, at the end of the day, offensive line quarterback dictates that, right? Your receivers, as we explained, there has to be 5 things that happen before a wide receiver is able to make a play in the NFL. You got to snap, you got to block, you got to read, you got to actually throw it accurately, blah, 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 blah. Then the wide receiver can go up and catch it and make a play happen out of all of it. So we will see what this offensive philosophy is going to be. I mean, I know what Arthur Smith says, and I understand what his point is, and I understand where he came from, but they haven't drafted they haven't put the pieces together. That's why I think that when we get toward training camp, that you're going to see the Falcons first and foremost add to their offensive line. That's where they're going to spend their free agent money. They still have money. They want to spend it. They don't want to have all this cap space even for this year. You might as well spend it. So go get some offensive linemen, and come training camp, it's going to be a heavy, heavy competition. All right, the Braves won 12 in a row last night, but they had to pay a price for it. What's life going to be like without Ozzie Albies? We'll talk about that next. Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.